Hey guys, welcome to Coaching with Chris. I'm excited today because I'm bringing on my very own loan officers today. We're going to have some conversations. What's working for them? What are they doing to convert? What areas in their business that they're struggling at, that they need to get better at, that they want to continue to work on? You know, like all loan officer talk today. And I've got a great group. Guys, are you here?
Morning.
Morning.
We're
Is this
here.
the first time on StreamYard?
This is my first time.
It's pretty cool, isn't it? You got me, Don? Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's road construction behind me all of a sudden.
We can't hear it.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to figure out a workaround for it.
No, you're good. You're good. You can't plan those things, Don. I wish we could.
No, well.
And it is summer. It is spring, summer in South Dakota. So construction is on its way. Well, guys, first of all, let me do a little bit of an introduction. Bella, my favorite story with Bella always is the dollar. So maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe we won't. Devin, converting from commercial loan officer, and Dawn, farm credit underwriter, maybe even dairy farm underwriter to loan officer. So the unique thing about this group is that when we all started working together, none of them came from the mortgage industry. And if you're thinking about I'm hiring, I'm recruiting, or I'm a loan officer that has all the experience doesn't matter. The plan is what matters. It doesn't matter the different industries. They all three came from different areas. Devin comes from the commercial banking side of it. Bella's running 76 gas stations across Phoenix and moved back to the hometown. Like, it does not matter. It matters the plan. So welcome, guys, to Coaching with Chris. If there's I have a slew of questions, and by the way, they've been huge troopers. We got a playbook going on today. They helped me with that, and now they're on to this. Like, I owe them big. Devin, we're clear on the bourbon now. You've paid your debt.
Okay, great. I wouldn't have been able to afford your taste. So.
Oh, right. So let's start. Like, Dawn, why don't you tell me your story really quick, and we'll kind of go around. We'll go with Bella and then Devin, but a little bit about you.
Okay, so I have been with Chris almost 20 years at this point, and it goes really fast. Like, when I started, I was like one of the younger ones, and the kids were little. And, you know, in mortgage, time goes very, very fast. So now all of a sudden I'm in a role where I'm doing a lot of mentoring and trying to help other loan officers come to where they want to be or what they can really do. I run a team. I'm blessed because Bella's actually on my team. So you're going to get to hear a little bit about how we do things. And we have, I call them edge pieces and inside pieces of our puzzle. Our edge pieces are my loan partners that can talk to customers. They're scripted. They know how to answer the phone. They know how to ask the right questions. And then our inside pieces take us from contract to closing. And my biggest investment right now is probably my team and the energy we put into doing a really good job for our customers. And we meet every day. So
how long is your team meetings? Like, if you're meeting every day, if I'm a loan officer, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not meeting every day. What topics do you cover and how do you do it?
So it's at least a half hour. I'd say a half hour is the minimum. Sometimes it's 45 minutes. And we cover leads that came in the day before. Where are they at? Purchase agreements that got accepted. We're collecting them. We're making sure they get entered in the computer. Who's helping with what? There's always education in there. Kind of, what did we get kicked in the head on this week? So everybody can learn from it.
So a learning topic.
Yep. Like this morning's learning topic was, I had a gal that said she was a publisher, and everything to me was screaming contract temp. And we looked at like the W-2 that came in and how it gave me a hint to tell me I was on the right path. And we're going to have a problem here if we just blindly gave a letter. And then they teach each other. One gal, you can just tell in the meeting when she's done, because she gets kind of fidgety, doesn't she, Bella? Mm-hmm. And like, okay, we got to get back on track. Angela's ready to go work.
I like that. How many leads are you managing in a month?
Oh, probably between Bella and I, about 115 to 120.
So you're managing 120 leads
Mhm.
a month between that team. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Bella, tell us your story.
So like you mentioned, I came from an accounting background. I used to do accounting for Circle K gas station stores out of their corporate office in Arizona. And when I came home to walk for graduation, I had my interview with Plains with Chris personally, and I took my job that same day, quit, and came home within 2 weeks. I've been here now for 6 years, which feels like it flies by, like Don says. And we work on the same team, we run the same process, and I'm very blessed that the people on this call saw the potential in me to create the career that I have.
That's awesome. That's cool. Devin?
Yeah, I was a commercial banker for 8 years and just kind of burned myself out, ran myself into the ground. And so I needed a shift in my career trajectory and came over to Plains. I had to restart my whole entire career at the bottom. And I was lucky enough to get on with a senior mortgage banker and be mentored there. And now I run a team. I have a junior and 2 front-end processors and a back-end processor. So it's kind of, accelerated fairly quickly, but I've always had that, hunt mentality in me, and I always just want to serve as many people as I possibly can and give them great financial advice, just because that's my background. So
Yeah. Devin, you talked the B word, the burnout word, and this business, right, can get a lot of burnout. And over the years, Don and I have been together a long time, so we could catch each other in that burnout. But you went from an industry that doesn't seem as high stressful and burnout, but then you came to an industry that maybe it has more. How do you keep yourself from putting yourself back to the reason why you wanted a different career?
yeah, so it's interesting because I feel like as I've matured in my just general life, I can identify it really fast. I know exactly when I'm starting to get burnt out. And I actually coach a lot of my realtors on this because I have a lot of high performing agents that go 100 miles an hour. And I say, you just have to take a day. And I prefer taking like a Wednesday or a Thursday. But if we're going to sit and do, leads and apps and pre-qual meetings and doc signings all week long, and then we're going to go work open houses or parade of homes, I mean, it's hard for any person to go 7 days a week, 6 days a week. And so you just have to take that personal day. And it's amazing what even a personal day from working from home or, I'll still always answer my phone and stuff like that. But if I can just not be in the office, that's all I need for my reset. And it's incredible what it does to my mind. So I'm pretty good at identifying it and then reacting to it and stepping back from it. So
It kind of leads me right into my next discussion, Don. I'll start with you, and then Bella or Devin pitch in. But seems like burnout has a lot to do with your calendar. And the question I get asked a lot is what does a week look like for Don? And then how does Don stay as close as you can to a calendar? No one's perfect. But how do you do it? And what does the work week look like for a top producer, managing 120 leads a month?
So do you remember like years ago, we'd talk about balance, right? And we'd say, you're not balanced. You got to get balanced. And over the years, I kind of gave up on balance. Like, I think it's one of those urban myths. There are times when work gets more. There are times when home might get more. And I think the key is just knowing who needs what right now. I'm never going to tell you I just work 40 hours a week. I would probably be pacing the walls and bored if I just worked 40 hours a week. It's not the way this job is. There's always going to be nights and weekend calls. So I think the first thing is to accept that, not fight it. Devin mentioned something key about he realizes he needs time to recharge, is what he was telling us. I have the same problem. If you were to see where I sit, there are kind of like 3 different directions that merge in the office right in front of my door. So someone has a problem or they can't figure something out, and I have glass windows, so it's all open. They're like, we'll stop and ask Dawn because I bet she knows how to do this. Which, I mean, that's the mentor piece I talked about, but that's also the reason I need to not be here on Wednesdays. So Wednesdays, I'm out marketing, I'm meeting with VIPs, referral partners, but in between those meetings, I'm at home. And it's really hard for people to interrupt me at home to solve a problem that they could probably figure out themselves if they kept working on it. So I always joke that Wednesday keeps me from killing someone because I need that time to have that, to do my marketing, get recharged, and then I come back in. And it's okay that Thursday and Friday are really long. Monday and Tuesday are really long as well.
How long have you done this? How long have you done Wednesdays?
Probably 3 years, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's key. When I came back from one of my maternity leaves years ago, I came back Monday, Tuesday, worked half a day Wednesday, and then had Thursday and Friday. And I always have felt like Wednesday was key for me personally because I regrouped. So I remembered what that felt like, and that's kind of what got me started on it.
But Wednesday's still structured for you in a sense, right? Like you're not taking Wednesdays off.
No, I have an 8:30 realtor meeting, which is a break bread. It's a pipeline review with, I rotate 2 of my top agents.
Okay.
And then every other Wednesday. And then I have referrals group every Wednesday, which takes an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then I always stack something in the afternoon too. There'll be another meeting scheduled in the afternoon with another realtor, maybe go to an office and talk to a group. No, it's full. I'm definitely working. It's just in between running to closings and going to meetings, I come home instead of coming to the
office. Wow, that's cool. And you've seen great fruit from that, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good fruit. And like I said, I just think it makes us all run better. It's good for the team to solve some problems on their own too.
Yeah. If you're going to give me 1 or 2 calendar tips to stay to my calendar, I think we all know what we need to do. I think the muscle of training the brain to actually do it's probably the harder part. But how do you get yourself to do this much activity in a week and still be a mom, still be a wife, still have a little fun? I mean, I know that you beat Dave on the walk early on Sunday already because I saw you on Sunday. But how do you? What's a tip to stay on track?
One tip is when you get a really busy calendar, it's easy to miss stuff. So I set my little alarms on my phone. First thing when I get up and get here in the morning, I look at my calendar and I set an alarm to go off a few minutes before I'm supposed to do the next thing, because it makes me stop and realize you're supposed to be somewhere else or you're supposed to be going to a closing. It seems easy, but it's really hard to stick to a calendar. And one of the biggest problems is time goes so fast. Someone interrupts you and then you realize I'm not doing the other thing I was supposed to be doing right now. So that's one piece. And then the other one Chris alluded to is I'm a big walker, big exerciser. I actually like to walk alone. So what he was saying is he heard my husband throw me a little dig because he said, I would have gotten up on Mother's Day and walked with you. And I didn't have the heart to tell him I didn't want you with me. I wanted to walk by myself because that's my recharge time. Yeah. Whether it's because I'm listening to a book or I'm, sometimes I talk to my sister, whatever it may be, I need that time.
So you secretly got out and got out the door. He didn't even know.
No, he's sound asleep. 6 on Sunday morning.
Devin, how do you manage your calendar to stay on track? Because I know you're big on being out in the community. You try to go to a lot of events, which takes up time as well. You attend your closings. You handle the initial meetings. How do you stick to a calendar to keep you on the front end?
I cluster everything. So I cluster my apps, my pre-qual meetings, my closings, typically in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then I really use Thursday, Friday for a lot of the activity, the lead generation and that sort of thing. Obviously, Saturday and Sunday that trickles into. So I'm a big cluster where my team knows that, I really prefer to have a day that has 3 or 4 pre-qualification meetings all on one day. Then I'm just in a rhythm. If you're doing this stuff back to back, I feel like you're on top of your game and delivering, the best thing for your customers. So I cluster everything is how I do it.
Cool. Bella? I mean, you're the youth. You're the new way. I mean, do you have some trick thing that the youth do that I don't know about because I'm old?
I don't think it's anything special, but I would say that my heaviest days are Mondays and Thursdays because I also follow the Wednesday. And that Wednesday, even though it is normally stacked, like Dawn said, like I have a coffee, I have a lunch, I have a dinner sometimes even with agents. But that fills my cup. So I can go heavy on Monday when I'm at the highest level, the highest ready to go for the week. And then that Thursday is like my reset, because there's something about being out of the office when everyone else is supposed to be there. Like 8 to 5, Monday to Friday, when you're out on Wednesday, you just have a different sense of feeling and a different way of working, that I just get so much more done, whether that's at home or with agents. I feel like they're better conversations, and I'm ready to go and pick right up again on Thursday. My team also knows that Friday is like, my husband and I meet at 4 o'clock on Fridays. That's our regroup time. It's when our kid is still in daycare. It's like our 1 hour that we can discuss household, discuss fun things, make plans. We can recap business, all of those things. So they know
Where do
that
you meet? Home or a restaurant? Like, where do you meet?
typically it's a restaurant and somewhere local. So kind of playing into the community and hoping that we run into people that we know. It's good one-on-one time, but if we see other people, that's a good thing too.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know you did that. That's pretty,
Yeah.
that's neat. I think that's really neat, especially for the youth to do that. Let's talk about leads, like the big topic. And by the way, we love comments and questions. So if you want to ask anything, how you doing this, how you doing that, make sure you comment on the side. But let's talk leads. Like, what are you guys doing today that's working well to get more leads? Whoever wants to go.
I'll go first. So this last weekend was Parade of Homes. So definitely attending both days for the entire time period. Like you mentioned earlier, I'm big into events right now. So it's just being anywhere and everywhere. It doesn't have to be real estate related or anything like that. You can just be at an event and you're going to strike up conversations. I love just walking up to random people and asking them, what brings you out, or, what do you do in for work and stuff like that, and just having as many conversations, intentional conversations as possible, and then obviously doing the basic stuff where working the realtors, the financial advisors, the standard stuff we all do.
What area, Devin, are you getting the most leads from today?
I'm typically that higher end jumbo, but I mean, I work with everybody from first time home buyers to move up.
But what source is giving you the most leads?
The highest volume is realtors, but I would say the highest conversion is going to be builders. And then my sphere and these events and the community have really good high conversion also, because you're having a really impactful conversation. I just can be myself. I'm not dressed like this. I'm out in the community and just having a real conversation with people.
Yeah. We're big on working on the word portfolio right now. And I hear you talking about all these different areas. And I feel like you wouldn't invest if you were running a stock portfolio, your own stock. You wouldn't just like put it all in Amazon. You would put it in different segments and buckets. And I feel like that's what you've done. But I love it. I just love it, Devin, that you know the conversion in each of these areas and that builder is your number one.
Yeah, and you have to be extremely intentional about, okay, my realtors are pulling back for various reasons. Maybe they had a good couple months, or they're heavy on listings, and so I really had an aha moment about 1.5 years ago where all of a sudden I went through this dry spell, and it's like I thought I had this great business built up, and it was really humbling experience for me that you coach it every week, but just because I hear it every week doesn't mean I listen to it. And it's just like you constantly have to be gaining new relationships. It's just part of this business. You can't rely on your consistent relationships to bring deals in. So it's just always having that growing mentality. Whether or not your volume is truly growing, at least your relationship count is growing.
I love that you picked that up, because I think that a lot of loan officers get like set, like, I've got my relationships all set, everything's done. I heard Andrew go, I'm in my late 40s and I'm working in an open house, and like mentally that screwed him up for a second. And I'm like, what would that matter? But there's weird things that get placed inside our minds that hold us back. And you like release that and look how you've continued to grow year after year, because those relationships, what you start with won't be the ones that you end with. Promise. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, they cycle, and they cycle annually. It's just the reality of it. We have a very competitive market, and people are constantly being, gone after. And if they're chasing the shiny new thing, then they're going to retract a little bit. And you just try to work on, don't be scared to go back after them either.
Right. Win them back.
Relationship. Yep.
How about you, Bella? What's working for leads today?
I'd say somewhere along the same lines. My realtors are where I get the most business right now in the current market. And what I'm doing is I'm diving into those realtors a little bit more than just the business aspect. All of them get called every week. They're all getting asked for business, all of those things. I'd rather get to know them on a personal level. I want to be your friend, but I also want to be your business partner. So
Mm.
as an example, one of my top agents, her and her husband, we are doing a cooking class together with me and my husband. That gets us, our husbands, to know each other, but also that builds that relationship. Another agent, she's
Cool.
got a daughter that's just a couple months older than mine. We're going on a play date where it's a keep the kids busy so that moms can talk kind of thing. That builds a relationship. We can talk business if we'd like to. But I think that pouring into them in areas of their personal lives shows you care about them so that they're more likely to refer to you business wise too, because they know, like, and trust you and spend time with you outside of just 8 to 5 business hours.
Yeah, I love it how you separate it out. Dawn?
I would say, as far as where do the leads come from, I run 40% past customers or customers in process and 40% realtors. And then the other 20% is just the other categories that come into play. And one thing I like to do is I like to just at closing give praise to the other agent and always ask for a referral for both of us. And it just kind of ties that little triangle of trust tight one more time between the customer, myself, and the agent. And, when your friends come visit and they love your house, in fact, they love it so much that they want their own, please think of us and share our names. And that just builds a lot with the agent that's there, who maybe I don't have a live deal to give them, but they see me trying to get them
Yeah.
deals.
Yeah, I love that. Matt asked a question. I want to go back to database, Dawn, but Matt just asked a question. How are you converting to locks in today's market?
Okay. So, Matt, I think what your question is probably, how do you get from the pre-qual phase where you've had a good conversation with them, you've got them out shopping, and then to getting the contract back and actually being able to lock it, is what I'm taking your question as. And a lot of that has to do with our communication process through pre-qual. Like, it's very in-depth. I don't just have them tell me I make $5,000 a month and I say, okay, here's your letter, you can go buy this. I make them show it to me. So my letter has teeth. We've looked at assets, we've looked at income, and then I always give them payments on 3 houses that are in the area they want to be in. I give them full cash to close. Like, I like to tell them, I'm open books. You're going to get to know everything all the way through the process. And I don't find that I get shopped a ton. It just seems to be on the weekend, I might get a message, hey, we're looking at this house. Can you tell us a payment? Yep, here's your payment. Let me know if you make an offer. Then I hear they made an offer and I follow up to see if it's accepted. Once I know it's accepted, both the agent and the customer get here's the next steps between now and closing. I need agent to send me purchase agreement. I need you to set an appointment to come to either see me in person, which is my preference, or Zoom. And I give them a couple of times on Monday that I'm available. Like, I try not to give them time to think too much to go somewhere else. I just keep it all very regimented.
But are you guys seeing borrowers just not wanting to lock in, or borrowers that are just like, yeah, I'm not going to do anything until rates drop? Or are you seeing borrowers, we talked about it this morning, are we concentrating on the rate, or are we concentrating on the reason?
Yep.
And are you guys seeing borrowers hold off on locking right now because they don't like the rate?
I have not had, I've had, there's always that borrower that's always like, oh, I could get it for $19.99 instead of $20. Yeah. But I will lots of times show them my mortgage market guide that shows where the rates go all day long. And I can show them, look at this, we're better than it's been this whole time. I would like to get a ceiling put on your rates so it cannot get worse.
So you show them the pie chart.
I do. I show them where
and
things
then
have
they
been.
see where it is.
Yep.
In comparison, which is way better than them estimating where the rates have been.
Right.
That's really good. That's really, really good. How about Bella or Devin? You guys got anything to add to that?
The conversation, I run this script almost every single time, especially ones that I feel like they're questioning the rate a little bit more than other ones. I always say, I'm not a gambling person. I I don't like the risk in gambling. So my personal opinion is if we're comfortable at this rate and this payment and this cash to close right now, why wouldn't we protect it? The best time to take advantage of their interest rate is right now, because you don't know if tomorrow it's going to be a 0.5% higher or a 0.5% lower. It would feel like you win the lottery if you waited, but you're going to really hate yourself for not locking if it's the 0.5% higher. And 9 times out of 10, they'll lock at that point. And
it's hard to say, well, I'll just gamble and see if I hate myself tomorrow.
Right.
That would be hard to say.
Exactly.
And then I think the other thing Bella does is she shows them like, hey, if it's an eighth cheaper, it might be $22 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really worth all this anxiety or not sleeping at night?
Right.
Yeah.
It's the price of peace of mind. I always tell them, if it's $50 a month that it's going to swing for 1/8 of a percent, 1/4 of a percent, are you willing to give up one time eating out for that 1/8 of a percent? Like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. So if we lock today and it gets 1/8 of a percent better, you're not really out that much.
And heck, you barely eat out for $20 anymore. Anyway.
Right.
So
I spend more than that on coffee in a week than
right.
anything else. So
Right. Devin?
I like both of them. I do a lot on the education on the front end so that I go over the market. I show them the mortgage market, show them what it's been doing. Obviously,
Even before they get to the lock question.
Yeah. Yep. I'm teeing them up before we get to locking. And so I show them, how much it's moved because of tariffs, and there's a lot of volatility. And I highly recommend locking a rate to secure it from going higher, as opposed, we can always go down if we can float it down. Obviously the probability is pretty low, but so education on the front end. And then if I do get into a situation where the customer is hesitant to lock, and I know maybe I am going against another lender, it's keeping them informed. So every morning, when the market is moving, or if we have a big movement and we have big red alert to lock, I take a picture of my computer screen of MBS Highway and say, hey, I highly recommend locking this loan right now. I would hate to see you pay more. So it's just staying in front of them and giving them as much education and value as possible around why they should lock their rate.
So Joe asked a question, which I think is good. He's probably teeing us up a little bit here, but what are the scripts or calls like for the past database with the rates in the 3s? You guys, what do you say to a database? Because a lot of loan officers are like, well, Bella's got a rate in the 3, no reason to call Bella. And how are you guys having that discussion with your database today that has a lower rate?
I'm trying to sell what a great investment they've had. Look at what that low rate has done for you between the market appreciating and your rapid pay down. It's like you have all this money in your savings account that we can use to get you into your next home. Because if you ask them, lots of times they don't love the house they bought when rates were low because they were competing. I mean, I would have customers at that point come in and I do my standard, like, what's your favorite thing about your new house? I literally had some say, we barely remember it. They accepted our offer. Like, there's a lot of people that have a really good interest rate, but hate their house. So we try to get into that piece of it.
So you don't pay attention to the rate?
No, well, it was just a vehicle. It was a vehicle that got you a bunch of equity that we can use to move on to the next thing. When rates come down again, you can always refi.
I love that. Devin?
I'm trying to find their pain points. So what has changed in their life? I hear the story every time I'm out and about is, we don't have enough bedrooms for all our, our growing family, or our debt situation has changed dramatically. And so you're doing your customers a disservice by not reaching out to them and see what is new in their life. It could be good, it could be bad. But, I always tell the story about this gal that called me 2 weeks after filing bankruptcy because she had a rate at 3% and she had over $200,000 of equity. And it was a really sad situation where if she went to file bankruptcy, I could have easily paid off all of her debt and freed up a ton of cash flow. And so I'll never forget that story. And so it's always a reminder to me that I'm doing my customers a disservice, just assuming that their situation was as great as what it was when we did the loan.
Right.
That's good. Let's switch to events or, networking opportunities that create leads. I think there's some that work well. There's some that don't. It's a waste of time. I get it. It's all on us to be able to lead inside that deal. But what are you guys working on today that in set events or a networking opportunity that actually works?
I can go first because I actually thought of this during coaching this morning. Chris loves to tease me about how cheap I am, right?
Oh,
So
geez.
one of the things I'm really good at is I piggyback on other people's events. And what I mean by that is I'm in a referrals group and all these ladies are in all different industries. So today I'm going to an event for Design House from 4 to 7. I guarantee you I'm going to see people I know there and I'm going to have great conversations, but I didn't have to schedule the event. So I try to do a lot of those. It's good to be out and be seen. And it's a good way to just get some face-to-faces and some exposure without having to go through all of the scheduling yourself.
Wow, that's cool. Devin, Bella?
Go ahead, Bella.
I have an event that we just started this year, but we just had our second one. So we're running them once a quarter, and it's called a B2B Mixer, which is just getting our local business owners out and connecting to each other. With COVID, we went away from a lot of face-to-face interaction. So drawing connections from other business owners is the easiest way, just because they're easier conversations to have. You're talking about yourself, what you like to do, and your passions. So we bring people in, and we call it a limited invite because we start it and our space can hold like 200, but we tell them that we can only RSVP up to 75. So A, it gets responses, and B, it creates urgency for people to want to attend. But we hold it at a space where it's an open platform. You come and go as you would please. We do a small introduction, 10 minutes of just saying who you are, what you do, and sometimes we do something fun like what your podcast would be about or what your goal is for mothers to know people and who you want to talk to in the room. And then we pour into those business owners. The first time we just did a book giveaway. This last time we did free headshots and a book giveaway. Our next potential one for Q3 is a motivational speaker coming in to just kind of give you some tips and tricks maybe that are working for their business, but also just kind of to hype you up because you're in Q3 ending the year strong. But it's a great way to A, meet new people, B, get yourself out there and having conversations, and C, you're making deposits into the community, just getting your face out there.
So tell us the attendance is how you've grown it from the first event to today.
Our first event, we had 37 in attendance, including the first 3 of us that started the whole thing. And this last one, we had, I believe, just over 60. And
you doubled almost.
Yeah. And our per se, our board that put it together is now 5. Every single time we have them, we have new people that are like, I want to donate the coffee cart. I want to support by giving you my space to run it in. We have new people that are interested in it every time.
So what do you want to grow it to?
I'm a firm believer that things can get too big, especially like referral groups. When they hit 20, you're no longer making genuine relationships.
Right. They don't work.
They don't work. But it's kind of nice to see some of the same people showing up. There was a little bit of consistency, but still new people coming. The people you invite are then you're introducing to new people. I'd say probably like 100 and 150 are a good one to have. And then if we get to that point, we'll start running 2 of them a quarter.
Wow. Can you imagine how cool that is? 150 people. You get to 150 people that you're having connections with once a quarter, and you're able to talk about mortgage. I think that's just a win-win. Have you got any leads from it yet?
A couple of the agents have referred me over people, but another value that I've seen out of it is I've made connections with house cleaners and plumbers and contractors. They're people that I can connect because their industries flow into what I do.
Yeah. So you could be a great referral source for them. In return, they could be for you.
Right.
That's really good. Devin?
I mean, my best events that I go to, as crazy as it sounds, is very simple. As open houses. I don't use it to try to necessarily sell the house or maybe get the leads, but I'll notice realtors that are doing a lot of open houses in the market and go have lunch with them and say, hey, I'm seeing you're doing a lot of open houses. Would you mind if I would join? And I just feel like if you're in the trenches with them, they're going to be more open to work with you. You're working on the weekends. They're working on the weekends. We're all going to, have the same goal. So the most effective, events that I go to, and they're not very big, is open houses. But these other events, just being anywhere and everywhere events, it's simply based on my mindset of what I go into it. If I go into it saying I'm going to meet 3 new people that evening, I've had more sphere and referrals and leads from that, as long as my mindset is positive going into that event. So I don't think you need to really gravitate towards specific events unless you have something organized like Bella. Like that's going to obviously be very effective. But I think it's just having that open mindset of saying, hey, I'm going to go meet 3 new people tonight.
Let's see here. Brad says, I'm a new LO. How do you find out about local events or the social media? Or I guess he's asking that question, social media. Like, how do I find the spots to find the local events so that I can attend and network? It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. Facebook, just go to our events, and then Eventbrite.
Eventbrite.
Yep. If you look at both of them, they always have different events. They don't overlap a ton. Like there's one coming up here in town that there's a new cabinet place opening their showroom. That's a perfect event.
Right. Because everybody in your industry will probably be there.
Yep. And there won't be a ton of people there. There'll probably be 20 people there. But
I like it that you set a goal that when you're going to walk in, I'm going to meet 3 new people that I could connect with.
Yeah, you just have to go into it with a positive mindset. If I go there with no intentions, I'll just talk to my wife the whole time,
She goes with you?
Yeah, we bring the kid. It's a really good talking point. She's going to connect with people that I'm not going to connect with. We bring our young son. That's going to have people walk up to us, and it's just going into it with, I want to meet new people.
That's pretty cool. Don, we're wrapping up here, but we got a couple questions left. This to you 3. Biggest struggle today and how are you overcoming it in the mortgage world?
I think the biggest struggle I have is an old struggle, which is, we'll just call it like the shiny ball, where I'm working on something and then I see something else. And I think mortgage makes us all a little ADHD because there's a lot of stuff coming at you. And do I look at my phone? Do I look at the computer? Do I look at my inbox that has 100 unread emails? And I have to stay on task and do the thing I'm supposed to be doing, not the thing that's bouncing by me and looks like a lot more fun.
So you're working on staying
on
connected
task
to that one thing till it's complete.
And if something can be done in a few seconds and you can move on, get rid of it. Don't leave it for later because you'll forget to do it.
That's good. Bella?
I'd say my biggest struggle is sticking to the small things on my calendar. I will 100% be on time to every big thing, pre-qual appointment, a disclosure, an event, a meeting, those kinds of things. But if I put something small on there, like time to go through X, Y, and Z pre-quals and call them, sometimes I'll push that back an hour. There's little things that I put on there, and just like having the respect for myself to show up and just have the discipline, get it done. Don't push it off another day. Like Don said, if it can be done in 5 minutes, just do it.
Yeah, that's good. Devin, what's your biggest struggle that you're working on?
Mine is more recent. So my agents are cycling through right now, and I'm needing to gain more relationships. So I'm really focused on that portfolio of getting more relationships, being intentional about those relationships, getting them from all different industries. It doesn't have to be real estate related. We all go through this, and it comes down to the consistency. If I find myself being extremely consistent, I never struggle with it. But, as of late, my team has had quite some changes. We hired a new junior loan officer. We hired a new processor. And so there's a lot of time allocation there. And so it probably stemmed from time management, So I'm just having to regroup a little bit. I don't get overly concerned about it. I'm pretty head down. I'll go attack it. But you just have to be able to recognize it and then go out and do the activity to gain it back and grow it back.
Are you going to rework your calendar now of the changes with inside the team and the training and the junior? Are you reworking your calendar for a new way to be more efficient, or are you saying I'm just going to stick with my calendar and I'll figure it out as I go? Or like, how are you managing that?
Yeah, there are so many tasks that I was doing that, as crazy as it sounds, it only took me 5 to 10 minutes. But I'm obviously going to start delegating more of that. I couldn't overwhelm the one processor that I had. I had to keep her in files, doing income calcs, doing disclosures, all that. So I did have to take on a lot of the tasks that maybe I shouldn't be, or maybe you wouldn't want to know that I was doing. But ultimately, it was the only way to do the volume that we needed to do. And that's why I kept telling you I was capped. I'm capped. I plateaued. And anyway, so yes. So we just talked about it this morning, actually. So I'm going to utilize the team for more pre-qual touches, nudges, as silly as it sounds, appraisal emails, updates, pre-qualification emails, sending out. I did a lot of pre-qual letters myself, so just simple tasks that take me 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Obviously, this is delegating. So I'm going to stay. My goal is I'm going to be completely out of files unless we have fires. That is the end goal with this new hire.
By when?
I think he'll be up to speed in 3 months.
All right. We heard it, Don. We got that written down. I like
I
it.
think like a response to stress is sometimes we go back in the file. Like you can get out of it for a long time, but then when you start to have a few problems or things that should have been caught, it's easier to go back into the file yourself because it's how we control our anxiety. When you're right, Devin, you should stay out of them so you can go market. But
Right.
I can see how it happens. It happens to me too.
Mm-hmm.
So my final question is, I'm a new LO. What's one thing that I need to implement right away to be able to create more leads or close more loans? Bella?
Get out of the office.
Get out of the office.
Yeah. If you sit behind your computer and you are a loan technician all day long, you are never going to generate new business. It's a safety space for all of us, like Dawn just said. Like when we get high anxiety, we're going to sit right here because we know we're good at it and we can do it all day long without too much brain power where we feel like we're checking boxes and getting things done. But you got to get out of the office. You got to make new connections. You got to talk to people. You got to be places where you're going to be seen. Like that is how you generate new business.
I like that. Devin?
This isn't an 8 to 5. It's not going to be Monday through Friday. For me to grow the portfolio to what it was growing to, it was relentlessness. I mean, it was two breaking breads a day. It was open houses every weekend. And so I was always told you're never going to make great money unless you're working 40 hours a week. So it's just a lot of work, connect with as many agents, financial advisors as you possibly can, like everybody tells you to do. But make it about them, pour into them. Don't make it about yourself. Stay humble. And you'll be a new loan officer and you won't have any confidence. Don't talk about mortgage. Talk about them.
That's a good point.
Because you don't know anything about mortgage. So just talk about
just connect.
Yeah, just connect. Connect on a personal level and make it business when the time is right.
Dawn, that's good.
I would say if you're just getting going, you need to remember to just ask because people truly like to help other people. So whether it's, you're at the dentist and you say, hey, I'm just getting into mortgage. If anybody ever mentions they need a home loan, just ask because they like to help you. And then when you get to like where I'm at now, I went to a graduation this weekend and I learned a kid was going to be a realtor. And instead of me saying to him, oh, you should send me all your deals, I said, I would love to help you learn the banking part. If you ever want to come in and sit down with me and have an education class on what a customer goes through on a loan, I'd love to do that for you.
Oh, what did he say? Of course he said, yeah.
Yeah, he's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could think of back in the old days. I'm like, wow, you must have went to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And how many deals you used to get out of the aisles of people that you would just connect with.
Just see people that wherever your community is, let them know you need help and they'll help you.
Yeah, that's such good advice. Guys, thank you for coming on to this today. What a big day. I promised to leave you alone for a while, but I'm proud of every one of you. You are true rock stars. You're leading in the industry. Your average is way above, but it's no secret, is it? You guys just go do the work. And when you do the work, you get the results. So I'm proud of every one of you. And thanks for being on this call today.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.